Good morning and happy Mother's Day. We're so excited that you're joining us live online this morning, and just want to say thank you. Glad to be together today as we celebrate Mom, but more importantly, as we honor Jesus this morning. We're in a series called Weapons of Self-Destruction, and really it's about the thoughts that we think. Are you protecting what you're allowing in? Are you protecting what you're allowing in? Really is the question. The thoughts that you're allowing in, are you protecting those? 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 5 says this, "For we live in the world, we do not wage war as the world does." The weapons we fight with are the weapons of the world, are not the weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take every thought captive to make it obedient to Christ. There's a battle that takes place in all of our minds, in all of our thoughts. The battleground literally is the mind. And as I shared with you last week, it is imperative how you think. We looked at this passage last week, 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7. "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and a sound mind." Because Proverbs chapter 23, verse 7 says, "For as a man thinketh in his heart, so he is." So essentially, you and I are a product of how we think. So if we think lies, then we're going to live lives of deceit. So this series is all about helping you and I think differently. I shared with you last week this paradigm. Thoughts shape beliefs, and beliefs shape feelings, and feelings shape behavior. And that's the way it is. Whatever I think, it is in turn going to determine how I behave, how I live. Because the Bible says, "For as a man thinketh, so is he." So I'm going to share some important news this morning. I know some are tuned in because of that. And I don't know if it's going to be in the middle of my talk or if it's going to be at the end, but I'm going to share some really, really important news. So I want to ask you to stay tuned this morning as we talk about some of the lies we believe, the weapons of self-destruction. This morning I want to talk about one lie that you and I have been exposed to. It's a lie that many of us believe. It's a lie that many of us, because we believe it, it has shaped how we believe, our worldview, and it shapes how we feel about life, and then it also shapes how we behave. And that lie, very simple, is this: I have time. I've got time. See, the devil wants you and I to believe that. I've got time. So that when I believe that, then it determines my belief system and my feelings and my behavior. The devil's favorite words are two. It is yesterday and tomorrow. Yesterday, so he holds our past over our heads, and tomorrow, it's like, you know what, just put it off. You can do it tomorrow. It's a lie that we believe, the lie of, you know what, I've got time. I've got time. But do you really have time? Listen to what James chapter 4, verse 13 says. "Come now, who you say, today or tomorrow we will go to such and such city and spend a year there and engage in business and make a profit. Yet you do know that what your life will be like tomorrow. You're a vapor. Appears for a little while, then vanishes away." It's a vapor. You're like on a cold morning, and you breathe the air, and you see that vapor, and then before you know it, it evaporates. Because that is life. We're a vapor, appears for a little while, and then vanishes away. Instead, says James, you ought to say, "If the Lord wills, we will live and also do this or that." The reason many of us have put off things is because we have bought into a lie, and that lie is this: I've got time. I've got time. The reason maybe you put off the hard conversation, knowing that you're going to have it, is because of that lie. And then what has happened is it has actually caused more stress in your life. So you put off telling your friend about Jesus. After all, he's got time. But you feel the weight of his soul on your shoulders. So you put off going back to college, going back to school. So in turn, you feel more pressure. So you put off disciplining your kids, but in turn, you tolerate a bad family culture. You put off friendship. And so in turn, you feel more alone. You put off trusting Jesus, and so you feel more lost and more guilty. You put off asking for help, and so you feel isolated and lonely because of this lie, I've got time. When it's not true. Because time equals life. You can run out of money and still have time left. You can run out of friends and still have time left. You can run out of electricity, still have time left. But when you run out of time, you run out of time. It's over. You know, many times I'm with couples, with families, with individuals when they hear the tragic news. Many, many years of families calling when they get the really, really hard news. And the thing I know when most people get the really, really bad news is they'll ask this question: so how much time do I have left? How much time do I have left? If it's cancer, what stage is it in? And how much time do I have left? Isn't it interesting? We go through our lives and we don't mind wasting time, but when we're put to that point in our life, when we're pushed to that point, when the doctor comes in, we're willing to waste our time, but we'll do anything that we can to keep from losing our time. Isn't it interesting? Because it is a lie that we just go through every day. You know what? I'll do it tomorrow. I'll make that decision tomorrow. I'll have that conversation tomorrow. I'll study for that test tomorrow. You know, the thing about COVID-19 has really challenged how we think. We need community desperately, more than ever. It really has caused us to realize our need for other people, our need for touch, our need for relationships, our need for church, our need for gathering. But one thing it's done in my life is it kind of has shaped my worldview on time. I've shared with you this before. Last school year, not this past school year, the school year prior to, Amy and I, our lives were, literally they were out of control with schedules. We counted up that between our 4 kids, there were like 21 activities that our kids took part in, combined throughout the school year. Everything from ballet to competition cheer to high school cheer to rec football and baseball, basketball. It was like 20 or 21 different commitments that either our kids had or we had. And so when it came to time with our family, there were only a handful of times, and I say this, listen, I say this not bragging. I say this convicted. There were only a handful of times that our family was able to be at home at 5 o'clock during the week and have family dinner together. I say it, listen, heartbreaking. If you would have told me in the rat race of that, you know what, you're going to get a lot of those opportunities next year, I would have said, deal, I'll take it. I'll take it. Because the rat race was so fast and our time was fleeting. And then when you hit a crisis situation, all you have is time for many. Obviously, there are those that are working, and there are those that their time has been taken even more of. But for a majority of people. So it's sometimes in these crisis situations, it causes you to back up and say, what am I doing with my time? What am I doing with my life? I can no longer continue to believe the lie that, you know what, I've got more time. My kids are going to be at home forever. It's always going to be like this. There comes a point in our life where we say, you know what, I'm not going to continue to go down that road and build a life on a lie. Listen to what the Bible says in Ephesians chapter 5. It says, be careful then how you live. Be careful. Be precise. Be detail-oriented. Not as unwise,